Ayashikeach to the organizers for organizing this great thing. I know for me personally, this in itself, just in preparing for tonight, it gives us the opportunity to think about and to connect to this overwhelming time of Chav Chasnissen. And the central question again is, so what's like the pshat? Ich gehe das über zu eich. What does that mean? The Rebbe gives it over to us. The Rebbe was a very, very practical person, very optimistic, but nevertheless very, very practical. And he assesses the situation, he knows the situation. He knows about each one of us, where we are, what we are, from the Rebbe's perspective. And certainly from our perspective, the other Yinish Benafshe, where he is, what he is, and then we come along and we say that how do we approach it? What's the practical approach? And we're not just talking about the simple aspect of our life. We're talking about something that's central, the central theme, the central focus, the eyeball of Chassidus, of creation, the Nekuda Ikris, Moshiach. So really, how do we approach it? What's the approach? And in thinking about it, I thought that the Rebbe gave us the message right there himself. The Rebbe said, eich gib das eich. If we connect that the reason we're doing it is because the Rebbe gives it, because the Rebbe has the faith in us, because the Rebbe wants it, and of course the Rebbe is with us, and it's then we're going with the Kollel of the Rebbe, ich gib das eich, then to jeden einem, so then we can go along and then we can go along and we can take the challenge. Toshin Amid Vav, I had the chus to be one of the shluchim in Eretz Yisrael. On Chalameir Pesach, I was in the home of Rabbi Sholom Duchman in Chabad, and he got a telephone call from Rabbi Chadikov. And the telephone was that the Rebbe asked and gave over to Rabbi Sholom Duchman, the head of Tzachdan, the head of the Shluchim then, that there should be a big shturm in the story about Sudas Mashiach. And the Rebbe then spoke, and the Rebbe said, the Ursprach is sein business of klingen in the Gassen Parmenisch Mashiach, until it will ring in the streets the bells of Mashiach. And the Rebbe then went on to him, and the Rebbe told him that since there is the Shluchim there, we just came to the story 2 months before Pesach, we came to the of Shvat, and the Shluchim, the Rebbe says, were here last year by the Fabrengen of Rachenshal Pesach. So B'meila, they should be in charge, they should be the head, because being that they were here by the Fabrengen here, so they know Sudas Mashiach, they understand Mashiach, their connection to Mashiach. I don't remember the exact language, but that was the point. The point was that the atmosphere of Mashiach, you were able to live if you were there by the Fabrengen of Rachenshal Pesach. And yes, we were by the Fabrengen of Rachenshal Pesach. And those of us who remember how the Rebbe inspired us, and when you were there by the Fabrengen, you felt how the Rebbe is trying to lift us up, to inspire us, and to bring us into the taste of Mashiach. Of course, the question is, that was then. How do we connect with it right now? We're after Gimel Tammuz. And the Rebbe said that gave us the remedy immediately. The Shabbos after, the Rebbe said that what he meant, how do we get in, how do we do it? Through winning the Torah of Moshiach, through winning the Gula. What the Torah of Moshiach is Chassidus the Rebbe's Torah, that's the Torah of Moshiach. Connecting to the Rebbe, doing what the Rebbe wants. This is exactly how we connect. This is the inspiration. Ich gib das eich. If we connect in the eich, that we take it from ich gib das eich, then we can do it. I heard the story, Rabbi Malke, from Rabbi Abba Refson. Rabbi Refson told me that he heard the story from the Bala Maisa himself. There was one of the Bachar in 770, that was a Bachar, he was a very, very good Bachar. And then he got married. And then he was a little bit of drop, went off a drop, not in a major way. He was in the construction business. And for a few months, and he didn't come to 770, a few months he didn't come to the Rebbe. He felt, being that he was in the construction business, he was dirty, so he didn't feel comfortable to work at the 770. And he got once an urge that he wants to go into 770, he wants to see the Rebbe. So he decided he'll stand by Mincha after the Rebbe went from his room, the Rebbe from the Zal, the Rebbe went back to his room, he'll stand there in the back, there'll be people in front of him. People usually would line up to say goodbye, and he'd be able to see the Rebbe, and hopefully he didn't think, he was hoping that the Rebbe would not see him. The Rebbe walked out from Mincha, and the Rebbe stopped, and the Rebbe calls him, the Rebbe says, Wo bist du? He didn't understand. So Rabbi Groner repeats them and says, the Rebbe is asking you where you are. So he says, Ich bin da, I'm here. So the Rebbe says, Mi zeh nicht, I don't see you. He was a little bit too tumult. He says, Rabbi, ich bin schmutzig, I'm dirty. He was in the construction business. So the Rebbe told him, Zu mir kenst du kumen, azoi wie du bist. To me, you can come the way you are. And just thinking about the yes, of course. But the Rebbe should have said, Bamir bist du gut, azoi wie du bist. The answer is, mis nicht gut, azoi wie du bist. Zu mir kannst du kommen, azoi wie du bist. If you make the move, if you go into the Rebbe and you connect to the Rebbe's vision, and then Yamut has to come, no matter how you are, every little moment, this little thing, if you connect as eich give the eich, then we can do it. The famous story with the Baal Shem Tov, with the Kukuriku, famous story, the Baal Shem Tov was davening, and Yom Kippur, with Kavanos, and he couldn't be pale Yeshua for the Gzeira, and there was a farmer's child that loved Kukuriku, and he came in and he screamed at Kukuriku. And a very simple question. The next day, instead of sitting working and welding and doing chassidus and davening, they should have screamed Kukuriku. It's such a great thing, or taking the word that you like. The answer is a very simple answer. Kukuriku is Kukuriku. When you scream Kukuriku by the Baal Shem Tov, when the Baal Shem Tov is davening around with the chassidim, the Baal Shem Tov's Kukuriku, that goes to the heavens. When you're in the atmosphere of the Baal Shem Tov, when you're together with the Baal Shem Tov. And this is the pshat that this is eich gibes take eich, but this is eich gibes it's connected to eich. Learning the Maimonides from the Rebbe, especially the Maimonides Yesod, the basic Maimonides from the Rebbe, the Maimonides from Daref Nissen, Tav Shalom Daref, and then Yosef Malkabi, Masht Osir, learning the Maimonides of the Gimel Tammuz from the Atat Tzava. In many Maimonides and many siches, you always see the Rebbe, the question, how does it start? Does it start from the Maila? Does it start from the Mata? Does it start because what the Eibishter gives you, or does it a part of Avedas HaTachtenim? And how does it work? And if it's Avedas HaTach from one side, if it's come from Maila, so then you get a lot. You get a tremendous amount, a tremendous channel of bracha. If you start with the Mata, it's very limited, but then it's yours. It permeates you. It's you. So how does it work? And usually, in most of the cases, and the end result that the Rebbe says is that the Eibishter, that it starts from the Mata, but it's not because of the Mata. And because the Eibishter chose that he accepts and he wants and he's getting his tainug from the Mata. It's not that the Mata is meaning. Of course the Mata is meaning, but why is the Mata meaning? Not because of the Mata. The matter is meaning what he does is important. Why? Because that's why the Eibishter chose. And this is exactly what's the difference. The difference is a very simple thing. If it comes with Tzadua Maila, so then you have to do big things. If you're telling me that the reason why it's important is because the Rebbe chose it, because the Eibishter chose it, so then even a small thing, every little thing that you do, and you do it because the Rebbe chose it, because you connected to the Rebbe, so then you're doing big things. If you can connect as eich give the eich with every little thing that you do, you're connected to the Rebbe, and you're fulfilling you're fulfilling this mission. I want to finish with a very, very powerful story that I heard. I heard it from Dr. J.P. Moore, which is an incredible story, just using the platform. Dr. J.P. Moore was the Rebbe, is the head of the stroke unit in Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. I had the schus to be involved in bringing him to the Rebbe and then driving him many times that we came to the Rebbe back and forth. This year, Rabbi Yael didn't feel well. And Rabbi Khan asked me if I can find a neurologist for him. So I called up Dr. Moore, and I asked Dr. Moore if he can come to Rabbi Yael to evaluate Rabbi Yael. It was during COVID. Dr. Moore was not taking any patients, was not seeing any patients. I started pressuring him, how do I explain to Dr. Moore, to Agoy about the Yael? How can I explain him? I mean, he knows the Rebbe. He's not a Rebbe, but the Yael is the Yael. Anyway, so he understood that he's something important. I wouldn't ask him Mistamazay. I mean, I told him, Dr. Moore, my mother is sick. My mother had a stroke. I would not ask you to come to see my mother. Rabbi Yael, I'm asking you that you should come and see. So he says to me that I can come and see him, but I need to have scans. And for that, you have to bring him to the hospital. Then he says to me, why don't you use your mitzvah tanks that you have, and you have the scanner there? As we all know, that the Tafshin base, I don't know who organized it, but it was done mamish and the item that the Rebbe were able to bring it, and brought a scanner on a truck, and a mobile scanner, a mobile machine. And he said, so he says, you have your mitzvah tank, you have your way. Anyway, he says, I'll tell you a fascinating story about your mitzvah tanks, he told me. He says to me, I'm a goy. He told me the Russian, I'm an Ovatarian. He said, I don't know the exact Russian that he used, Presbyterian, whatever. He says, I had a friend. His friend is not around with us anymore. His friend is Dr. Levine. He was a cardiologist. We were very, very close. And we spoke many times about religion. I spoke to him about the Rebbe. I spoke to him about my visits to the Rebbe, et cetera, et cetera. And he told me that he was a Holocaust survivor. He lived in Vienna together with his wife, who also I met. He told me the name, I don't remember the name. He says, in Vienna, we were engaged to each other. The Nazis came in, and unfortunately, we were separated. But with tremendous miracles, we were connected later back together, and we got married, and we lived in New York, and he was a noted cardiologist in one of the hospitals. He says, but because of what happened and all the trials and tribulations and the trauma of the war, I gave up my Yiddishkeit. I put away, no towers, no film, nothing religious. He says, I'm walking down the street one day in the Lower East Side, and I met my two of your boys. He called Rabbi Dr. Moore, says, he tells me, my two of your boys. And they're there, with the mobile, with the mitzvah tanks, they're there. And they tell me, you want to put on film and you want to do this religious act. And I said, he said, I respectfully declined. I said, this is not to me, I don't do it. So the boy said, you know what, come inside and drink a cup of coffee. We'll have a cup of coffee together. They came in, they had a cup of coffee, they spoke, and it was very, very nice. He went home, he says, I go home. This Dr. Moore is telling me, I'm going home, I go home. I'm thinking to myself on the way, it would be very, very interesting to know. I used to have a Talis and film. I put it away in the attic. Where is it? What happened to it? Anyway, he comes home and he's looking for it. He asks his wife for it, and he goes up to the attic and he locates. He finds the Talis and film. He brings down the Talis and film. He's telling this to Dr. Moore, and he says, and I wanted to see, how do I look at it? So I put on the Talis and film, and then he says, I gave a scream out. They got me. He put on the Talis and film. He accomplished what they wanted, influencing. Have a good Tavach, Yashikoya, for giving me the opportunity to take part in this. The Rebbe should helfen, that the Rebbe should durchführen, seine Sachen, the Rebbe sicher durchführen, and we should all have the chus, each one of us, to have a small part in this. A good Tavach.